What is going on, everybody? It's the France, and we're here for a SmackDown review for September the 18th, 2020. We had ourselves we're a week out, a week and 2 days out from Clash of Champions, the Gold Rush. Why WWE thinks that they need to get a tagline for every pay-per-view now is beyond me. But tonight, we had a rematch of last week's main event, only this time it was a Samoan street fight. Ergo, it's a street fight, and that's about it. But to WWE, and this is what I don't like about their naming of a street fight, it's like, a street fight to me is, you're in the fucking streets, you're out in the back. Not the parking lot brawl that we saw on AEW this past Wednesday night, but you're in the back, you're fighting all over the place. That would be a street fight. This was just another no disqualification match, and that's it. But we heard from Sasha Banks. We had another awful edition of the Dirt Sheet. Cesaro took on Grand Metalik. And not too much more. But we started off with the Dirt Sheet. Do I care? Not really. All they talked about was dirt, dirty this, dirty that, not Otis's underwear. The real reason why Bayley attacked Sasha Banks. Jey Uso trying to bury something personal. And Universal, he brings up Mandy Rose. We see footage of what happened last week on Talking Smack, where Mandy Rose was traded to Monday Night Raw. Even though we have a draft coming up next month. Miz says he is not playing mind games with Otis or using his influence to play games. He's just trying to help Otis because he knows what it's like having the Money in the Bank contract. You have to be on high alert, looking for every chance possible, and Otis couldn't do that with his girlfriend around. Miz says he sent Mandy away. Now Otis can focus on cashing his contract. Says Otis should be thanking him because he sent away the one true thing that was keeping him from the top of WWE. Miz says Mandy has already moved on over at Raw. Morrison says Dolph Ziggler's at Raw, and they want to do more than smell the roses over there. Out comes Otis. Otis hits the ring, unloads on both heels. He clears the ring, tosses his chain. Hit the chairs out behind them. Tucker comes over and tosses Miz back in, where Otis launches him back to the mat. Tucker rolls Morrison up next, and Otis dumps him over the top rope. Back to the floor. Otis punishes Miz some more and hits the Caterpillar. Otis then climbs the corner and hits the Vader Bomb on Miz. The Heavy Machine music hits. Otis stands tall on Miz before leaving. Tucker hypes him up, and the Money in the Bank briefcase in hand. Why did Otis win the Money in the Bank briefcase? I still don't have a clue, and I'm going to say this now. The Money in the Bank briefcase has never felt more irrelevant than 2020's edition. Honestly, I don't know why they gave him the briefcase. He hasn't even sniffed trying to say, oh, you better be careful because I have the Money in the Bank briefcase. I might cash in. He hasn't done that in weeks. Now, of course, COVID. I think he had COVID at one time. Him and Mandy or Tucker, because they were off TV for about a month or so after him winning the Money in the Bank briefcase. But still, I still don't understand why he is the Money in the Bank briefcase holder. Does anyone truly think that Otis will be Universal Champion within the next year? I don't. No one else does. The Money in the Bank briefcase would have been much more beneficial going to somebody from Monday Night Raw. At the time, AJ Styles was a good candidate. Aleister Black, Rey Mysterio, one of those guys. But they gave it to Otis. And it's not like he won the match by climbing the ladder. No, he just lucked into it. And here we are. Many months later, I think we're like 3 or 4 months later or 5 months later. And it's just more cartoonish shit after more cartoonish shit with this guy. Otis is a good comedy act. And that's all he's going to be, is a comedy act. I honestly cannot see him even vying for the Universal Championship. I believe Jey Uso as a better contender for Universal Championship than Otis. Again, I will say with them moving Mandy to Monday Night Raw, they took away the one thing I thought was going to screw Otis out of the Money in the Bank briefcase. Because there's only one way you end this thing, and having Mandy Rose turn on Otis, costing him the championship would be the way. I mean, costing him the Money in the Bank briefcase would be the way to go, and you getting on somebody who you really would expect to be a Universal Champion contender. Otis just doesn't, to me, fit that bill. And now you're doing Miz and Morrison are trying to steal it from him outsmarting them. It's just, I can't get into it. I've tried, but I just can't get into it. Corey Graves and Cole hype tonight's show, including Sasha Banks' return. Otis goes back into the ring and beats up the Miz some more. Miz has his clothes ripped off, and we see he's wearing tighty whities after joking earlier about Otis wearing them. Otis and Tucker as Miz runs away on the back, trying to cover himself up from John Morrison helping him, and we go to commercial break. Back from break, and John Morrison is backstage with the Miz, talking about how mad Otis is now. Miz says this is all part of the plan. Kayla Braxton walks up and for comments, but Miz answers his phone. He asks someone on the other end, "Did you see her? Is it enough?" Miz smiles and gives Morrison a thumbs up, then ends the call. Morrison laughs about him being a part of the plan, this being part of the plan. Miz awkwardly hurries off, still in his underwear. We'll talk about what he was all smiles about, and it's just, Grand Metalik versus Cesaro. This was a decent match. Now, for the first half of this match, Grand Metalik's in there with Cesaro. Of course, Shinsuke Nakamura is on there with Cesaro. Kalisto and Lince Dorado are out there with Grand Metalik. And during the first half of this match, Grand Metalik's trying to wrestle Cesaro, while Lince Dorado and Kalisto are on the outside, both trying to give him advice on what to do, and, bickering with each other. It all comes to a head as he's on the apron on the outside. Kalisto gets up to talk to him. Lince Dorado gets up to the other side of him. Rudy Charles, which is not his name in WWE, but that's what I know him as, says, hey, you, get out of here. And they go away. They're arguing still. Metalik gets knocked down to the floor by Cesaro. They're blaming each other. They're still fighting. Get this over with. Apparently, this is the tag team match going into Clash of Champions. Why? Because they have nobody else, apparently. But, yeah, that's we're going there. So, after we come back from commercial break, these two have themselves a pretty decent second half of the match. Like I said, the first half was bogged down by the fact that you had Lince Dorado and Kalisto arguing over what he should do, or trying to both give him pointers. He was up on the top rope trying to do a move, and they're both telling him what he should do, so Cesaro takes advantage of that. In the end, Grand Metalik goes for a moonsault, but Cesaro gets his feet up. Cesaro with a big running uppercut in the corner, brings him in, hits the neutralizer in the dead square middle of the ring. 1, 2, 3, and Cesaro wins. Again, apparently, that is the match at Clash of Champions. I didn't see a card. I didn't see a clip or anything, so it sounded like what they were saying was this is going to be the match at Clash of Champions. But if it is, do we really think, if this is the match at Clash of Champions, which it looks like it is, that's going to be the night that they turn Kalisto on these two, because it's just going down that way. They're having this guy go out there. He's stuck up. He's full of himself. He thinks he's better than both of those two. Even Michael Cole or Corey Graves is like, Kalisto knows what it takes to be a champion because he was a United States champion before. And these two really haven't won a championship. So he knows what to do. They don't. So they should really be taking his advice, because he just feels like he's better than both of them. He's the leader of the Lucha House Party, as he said last week. And things are just going to come to a head, and Kalisto is going to turn on them and cost them the Tag Team Championship match, if that is the Tag Team Championship match at Clash of Champions Gold Rush. Kayla Braxton is backstage with Jey Uso. By the way, Kayla Braxton rocking glasses now. She looks good in them. She says she asked about last week's tag team match, which they show a video clip of Jey Uso going it alone for 95% of the match. Roman comes in, gives a very weak tag He just singles him to get out. He hits the spear, 1, 2, 3, they win last week. Jey says, Paul Heyman told me that there was a miscommunication last week. And that he said that won't happen tonight because he's going to be out there first. Jey Uso says Roman has been throwing his weight around since they were little, but they're not little anymore. But that was a week. That's a week later, and tonight he's focused on the Samoan Street fight. They've been beating people down in the streets since they were little, since they were kids. So it's not going to be any different tonight. If only it was in the streets, Jey. We come back from break and we get a quick video of Matt Riddle. Riddle is backstage now with his new Know Your Bro segment. Riddle says people always ask him why he says bro so much. He says it's like a universal language, one that can convey any emotion. He shows different faces now. Bro, how bro can mean happy, sad. Oh my god. They're really doing this with Matt Riddle. I can't even finish that. I can't. How fucking far he has fallen already. This is what they have for Matt Riddle. The Know Your Bro segment. Oh, the headaches. This is Keith Lee's future. They're going to do something like this with Keith Lee. And Keith Lee's going to be ruined. By the way, did you know they're going to have Keith Lee versus Drew McIntyre on Monday Night Raw again? With apparently the same stipulation as last Monday, where if Keith Lee wins and Randy Orton can't compete at Clash of Champions, it's going to be Drew McIntyre versus Keith Lee. What the fuck? You had a no contest on Monday. You're going to have another. You can't really afford having either one of those two men lose. So what's in the actual fuck, Vince? We go back to the stage with a moment of bliss with Alexa Bliss. She has her hair up in 2 buns, which, okay. She welcomes us and says normally tonight's special guest would be in the co-host seat, but tonight, after what happened last week, I have to have her in the hot seat. Brings out Nikki Cross. She's doing her usual Nikki Cross thing. The announcers show us how Bliss used Bray Wyatt's sister Abigail on Cross last week, doing a fatal 4-way match, which Cross won to become new number 1 contender for the Women's Championship for Bayley's Clash of Champions. Bliss, of course, congratulates Cross and says she's so happy for her. Cross thanks her. Bliss says that now that we know what the show is, now you know what the show is about, and she has no filter, which, by the way, Alexa Bliss is going to have her own podcast starting Tuesday called Uncool with Alexa Bliss. I'll have to check it out just to see what it's like. I've listened to both After the Bell and the New Day podcast, so might as well just keep it going. And I also listen to Unrestricted. I still listen to Unrestricted, only on YouTube though. Anyway, she says, what are you going to do different? You've been facing Bayley all summer, and you haven't been able to beat her. You haven't beaten her since last year, which I'm pretty sure is wrong. Didn't Bayley get pinned by Nikki Cross a couple weeks ago, like a month or 2 ago? Either way, Cross goes on about how this match was different because Bayley no longer has Sasha Banks. Every single time she has faced Bayley, Sasha has been in Bayley's corner. Sasha has helped Bayley win her match. This time, Bayley doesn't have that backup. Cross talks about how Bayley was proud. They hit her with a steel chair last week. She addresses the camera and warns Bayley that she will take the title from her at Clash of Champions. And just the fire in her voice, the serious, like how she, like the facials, when she delivered the lines towards Bayley were excellent. Cross then asked Bayley, Cross asked Bliss, what's gotten into you? Is everything okay? Asked about Bliss walking off after all things she hit last week, she hit her with Sister Abigail. Bliss says she doesn't know how to explain it because she doesn't fully understand it. She feels like some kind of change that she doesn't know how to handle it. And then all of a sudden, the segment had to be ruined by Lacey Evans, of all people. Why is Lacey Evans out here? Well, apparently she has a match with Nikki Cross that we didn't know about, or I didn't know about. She taunts them both and says Cross only won last week because Bliss hit you with that move, walked out, and it took me off my game. Really? Even Nikki Cross and Alexa Bliss laugh about that one. She keeps mocking Cross and says she will never beat Bayley because she has something Cross never will have. A mean streak. Cross is too nice, too short, too weak, and damn sure has no backbone. Cross grabs Evans' handkerchief and blows her nose, which was funny for some reason. Evans goes to pick it back up. Cross kicks her in the face, attacks her. They brawl on the stage and the ramp. Evans gets her upper hand and heads to the ring, pissed off because of what happened. So that's the match we have, Lacey Evans versus Nikki Cross. But yes, Nikki Cross on the main roster has been too nice. Has been not the Nikki Cross in NXT was mean, was vicious, was hateful. She was the twisted sister of NXT, and of course Sanity when they were together. But yeah, Nikki Cross, just when she came up, they had nothing for her. And then they paired her with Alexa Bliss. And she's just been this nice, caring Nikki Cross since then. But I'll tell you, during this match, Nikki Cross is getting dominated. Alexa Bliss is on commentary, trying to do her best to support her friend. And, of course, have some banter with the After the Bell host, Corey Graves, because, she's getting her own podcast starting Tuesday. But Cross, So Lacey Evans came out to this ring with her bag and a huge-ass bottle of hand sanitizer. So she had this hand sanitizer. She grabs it towards the end of the end of this match. Gets it, starts spraying it all over Nikki Cross's face. And Michael Cole puts a big question. How is that not illegal? How is the bell not rung in having Nikki Cross win? Well, this pissed off Nikki so much that this did not look like the Nikki Cross of WWE main roster. She went from main roster Nikki Cross to NXT Nikki Cross like that. She had that same fire, she had that same victory, she had that same anger, and she just went ballistic on Lacey Evans. Hit her with the actual purge, which is the hanging, spinning neckbreaker, twisting neckbreaker, while her legs are suspended on the rope, and she won. And the face she had, she was just angry and just gritting her teeth while she's pinning this woman. I don't know, Nikki Cross just disappeared or something, but she was gone. Alexa Bliss was still on commentary, and Lacey Evans said, "What are you gonna do? Go get the Fiend?" And of course, Alexa Bliss stands up in this trance. She's yelling at the two commentators. She gets up in this trance, gets right behind Lacey Evans as Lacey turns around, grabs her, and hits the Sister Abigail, and walks off in the trance again. I didn't see Nikki Cross anywhere nearby her, and that is that. Bliss walks off with a 1,000-yard stare as she hit the Sister Abigail. And it looked a lot better this week, I will say that. She did hit the Sister Abigail last week. It looked a little rough, but it seems like she's been getting the practice in for that move. Honestly, this is the most interesting it's been for Alexa Bliss in a long, long while. I think the last time I had any interest in Alexa Bliss outside of her partnership with Nikki Cross was when she was the manager of Blake and Murphy when she first turned and joined them, and what she brought to that table with them, and how she helped them be a tag team championship team in NXT. Then they did everything they did with her after that, and it just, I don't know. But yeah, Nikki, this whole thing with the Fiend thing and her is something very interesting. We see Sasha Banks getting fixed up for an interview. She's at the Performance Center while we were at the Thunderdome. Now, I was hoping it would be via satellite, and it was. I didn't really want it to be at the Performance Center. I think being in her home or in a setting that looked like her home would have been much better, in my opinion. But I will take this. This was fine. This was better than her showing up, standing in the middle of the ring, doing her normal entrance, and acting like everything's all fine, like fucking Drew McIntyre did after getting kicked 3 times in the head with a supposed brain bleed and a hairline fracture, or whatever that fracture is called. We go to Cole Graves, who joined us via satellite from Sasha Banks, who is at the Performance Center. She's wearing a neck brace. Cole shows us the recent attack to Banks by Bayley. Banks gets emotional as Cole comes back to her, and she says she's still here. She said, "I'm still here, ain't I?" Gosh, she could have went with a better way of saying that. But he mentioned the fact that Bayley last week said that that Bayley blamed Sasha Banks, that Sasha Banks was just using her and was waiting for the right time to take her out. So she struck first. And Bayley, and now she's like, so I'm no use to you anymore. I'm worthless to you. She heard every single word last week, and she can't help but be filled with emotion as she sits in the Performance Center, a place they helped build and work together every day. She recalls time they spent at the Performance Center. She also recalls the summer they had on SmackDown at the PC. They showed the world they were taking over. She gets emotional and says that the walls could talk. And this is like the most emotional part of this. She's like, if the walls can talk, she goes forward, like hunches over forward with her head in her hands, trying to hold back the tears, because these walls would tell you that they did all of it together. They built this division together. They built this building together. Everything they've done together. Now that I'm useless to you, one day I'm going... And this part right here, when she said what she said, just really does take the wind out of Nikki Cross's sails, because Nikki Cross is not going to win the Women's Championship, but having Sasha Banks come out and pretty much just say that, like, one of these days, I'm going to take what you find the most precious, and that is the SmackDown Women's Championship. Out of nowhere, Bayley with a shot to the back with a chair, and she smacks her with the steel chair. She is at the Performance Center. She wraps the chair around Banks' neck after she takes the neck brace off. Looks to do it again. We get some, I guess you can say, some trainers to come help her. They call for Bayley to get out of here, and for the medics to come and tend to Banks, and we go to commercial break. Now, back from break, and before we go to the next match, we see at the Performance Center what happened, and the fact that we went through an entire commercial break. We come back and we see at the Performance Center Sasha Banks being helped by these trainers, and Cole saying medical personnel is on their way to Sasha Banks. And I'm like, they're at the Performance Center. I'm sure the Performance Center isn't that fucking big that they couldn't have medical personnel just on standby or somebody. And it's like, we went through a whole commercial break, which is 2 minutes or 3 minutes of time, and we're still waiting for medical personnel for Sasha. Wow. Then we go to AJ Styles versus Sami Zayn. This could be one of the best. These guys, I think, could go out there, if they were given the freedom to, could give you a pay-per-view match on TV. No doubt about it. Of course, AJ comes out first. Sami Zayn comes out with his Intercontinental title. And he hears Greg Hamilton not announce him as the Intercontinental Champion. Even his graphic says former Intercontinental Champion. And he goes over to Greg. He's not happy. He's like, what are you doing? We talked about this for 3 weeks in a row. What the hell, man? AJ attacks him. They go into a match. Good match between these two. Like I said, if these guys were given the freedom and were given one micromanage and anything, I think these two on their worst day could give you a TV main event, and on their best day could give you a pay-per-view quality main event match. I'm just saying. That's how good both of these guys are. So we're going through this match. Sami catches AJ towards the end of it, launching him into the turnbuckle with an exploder suplex. That looked horrible. But AJ sold it great. Sami waits, goes for the haluva kick, and that doesn't work. But AJ grabs him. Sami rolls him up for a 2 count. As he has him down in a roll-up, he has the tights. And Jessica Carr, who is the referee, is counting 1, 2, and then sees what's happening. It's like, wait a minute, no, I can't count that. You can't be doing that. So he's up arguing with her. AJ comes up, rolls him up, holding the tights, but the referee is not in the same position as she was when AJ was getting pinned. 1, 2, 3. AJ Styles wins the match. After the match, Sami is pissed. Wait a minute, what the fuck? He was holding my tights, and she's like, no, he wasn't. I didn't see that. So he goes over to Greg Hamilton and tells him to say, I'm still champion. That was a non-title match. Tell them, go ahead, tell them who the real champion is, and out comes Jeff Hardy, who levels AJ Styles, goes over, fights Sami Zayn, throws him into the ring, goes under the ring to grab a weapon. First looks at a table, and then drops it down, puts it back, and then grabs a ladder. Puts it up on the ring, like you usually would on its side, and Sami goes to drop kick it, which is what you would do, but Jeff Hardy isn't no fucking dummy, picks it up, AJ's up at the same time, and he backs the ladder into both of them, gets it in the ring, gets Sami Zayn into the ring, hits the Twist of Fate on him, goes up top, he sets the ladder up, goes up to do something, Sami leaves, he gets a microphone and says, you know what, I'm sick and tired of all of this. I'm sick and tired of being a cheat. I'm sick and tired of being called a fraud. Let's settle this at Clash of Champions. We're going to have to go beyond normal. Well, Escape Normal, which is his new t-shirt. It has the JH, and it says Escape Normal on it. And we're going to have a triple threat ladder match for the championship. Which if you've been watching SmackDown since Sami Zayn returned, you knew this is where they were going, was a triple threat match. I would have preferred they had Sami Zayn and AJ Styles have the match tonight, number 1 contenders match, with the winner going on to face Jeff Hardy in a one-on-one ladder match, and of course Sami Zayn would have won to have us go to the championship match at Clash of Champions in that ladder match, and then whoever they want to win wins the match. But nope, we're going to have a triple threat match. A triple threat match between AJ Styles, Sami Zayn, and Jeff Hardy, sign me up. I can't wait to see that match. That's actually something to look forward to at Clash of Champions. Otis and Tucker are talking backstage, and a man walks in and serves Otis with papers. Tucker opens them up and reveals that Otis has been served with a lawsuit. Of course, he's confused. He is absolutely confused. Back from break, and Heavy Machinery is looking at the lawsuit papers. Tucker says Miz and Morrison are suing Otis for emotional distress, destruction of personal property, creating an unsafe work environment, money in the bank negligence. What in the fuck? And they say that Dirt Sheet is a news program, and Otis is violating their First Amendment rights. Somewhere, somehow, I think that entire statement right there is WWE taking a shot at the political spectrum we're in right now. I'm just saying. Tucker says Otis needs a lawyer because Miz and Morris want him to forfeit the Money in the Bank briefcase or they're going to court. Otis has 1 week to make a decision. Isn't that convenient? This is probably going to lead to a match at Clash of Champions with the Money in the Bank briefcase on the line, in which Otis is probably going to lose to either Miz or Morrison. Make it a tag team match, why don't you? Why not just make it a tag team match? So, Otis gets worried and says they're in trouble. Tucker says, sorry, buddy, you're in trouble. Sheamus and Baron Corbin are backstage. The security guard walks up to Sheamus and says this is this is one way of telling Corbin about. He thanks the guard for luring Big E out to the parking lot 2 weeks ago and says he owes him big time for making the attack happen. The guard thanks Sheamus and says, he was just sent to inform Sheamus that his car is being towed. Sheamus walks over and Big E is standing there. He's standing his back turned to him. And Sheamus is like, where's my car? What the hell's going on? Hey. And then he turns around. He goes to fight Sheamus. Sheamus runs away. Big E turns to the guard and says, word on the street is that you're the one who set me up. And he beats the ever-loving shit out of this guy. He beats him from pillar to post. He throws him into one of those box crates, and that one looked like that was stiff. That didn't look like one of those usual throw him into and be safe about it. He looked like he tried to kill this guy. So eventually he gets up on top of a car and lays this guy straight down in, just like Sheamus did 2 weeks ago. So he picks this guy and is like, we ain't done with this. Takes him, pulls him up, throws him into the trunk, closes it. Adam Pearce, who is the general manager of both shows, because that's what he's been doing, just make it official. Just call him the general manager of Raw and SmackDown, because that's what you've been doing. Anyway, tells him to leave, and Big E says, let me see, he continues yelling about Sheamus, and he backs off. Pearce calls for someone to get the security guard to and he is just yelling, he's screaming, and this is the Big E we need to see. Not the guy dancing around, goofing around, and all that shit. We need this Big E. This guy is this is the guy that I could get behind for a run at a championship. Not anybody else, not any other version of Big E. This guy. This is what we need, more of this. Back from break, we get a new vignette of the mystery woman who is clearly Carmella. Just saying, clearly Carmella. Intercontinental Champion Jeff Hardy, Lacey Evans, and Heather Machinery on the Talking Smack for tomorrow. Samoan Street Fight, Roman Reigns and Jey Uso versus Sheamus and Baron Corbin. What do I have to say about this match that we haven't said already? This just makes no sense to me. WWE, Vince McMahon sure as hell loved that Baron Corbin Roman Reigns thing. Roman Reigns wanted to be a heel. He actually asked to be heel. Then Vince McMahon decided, well, we're going to give you that heel, but we're going to also have you face Baron Corbin for 2 weeks in a row. Oh, you kidding me, dude? I just can't even with this company right now. Why are we continuing to see Baron Corbin, Roman Reigns feud? Give me a break. But it was what it was. They beat the hell out of all four men beat the hell out of each other. Now, there was early on in this match, Roman tosses Sheamus over the barricade into this crowd. Soon as Sheamus gets up, it was timed just so well. Jey Uso with a super kick right to Sheamus as he just collapsed. Then Roman walks away and Baron Corbin threw a fucking chair into his face. And I know he got the hands up, but you could tell on replay that the dude got clipped in the nose, for sure. Now, Roman tried to get a table out. He got kneed in the face. Jey Uso got powerbombed through a table. And the gist of this thing came down to Baron Corbin was fighting Roman in the ring. Uso grabs the Universal Championship, hits Baron Corbin in the face with it, dazing him. Roman quickly follows up with a spear. Jey immediately hits the splash. While it's like you had the spear happen, Reigns gets up just in time, backs up enough to be able to hit the splash. 1, 2, 3. They get the win. After the music hits, Jey stands tall and they begin to celebrate. Reigns just has this look of, what the fuck just happened? He sees the title in the ring. He sees Uso. And before he can get his title, Jey grabs it, looking down on it, just like Gollum would with the One Ring, or anybody else would with the championship, like Wardlow did a couple weeks ago with the AEW championship. You see that gold, and you want it to be yours. He acts like he's going to raise it up as if he's a champion. He just tosses to Reigns. So we get this moment after that Reigns and him have a big laugh, a big smile. They hug a little bit long, in my opinion. Reigns has got this fake ass fuck smile on his face. Uso gets out of the ring as Roman Reigns allows him to. Roman's still got the smile on his face. Jay's like, "Hey, big guy, this way." Jey goes to leave. Paul Heyman looks at Roman Reigns, nods, and then Roman has this look, like his smile disappears, and that look of, I'm going to kill you next Friday, and then at the pay-per-view, I'm going to kill you again. So that beatdown is coming next week, no doubt about it. Jey Uso is going to get his ass kicked, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He's going to do it, and it's going to be fantastic.